Welcome to Outside In with Zoe. This is episode 4 and we're talking everything pools with Peter Wiedermann. He's the owner of Beyond Pool and Property Services, a host on Talking Pools podcast. And today we are really going to help you buy a house with a pool, look at an investment property with a pool. We've got some funny stories about pools and some weird inspections that have happened and occurred. So yeah, jump on if you are looking at a house with a pool. Hi Peter, how are you today?
Living the dream. How are you?
I'm good. It's 42 degrees I think outside today though, so I really do wish I was in a pool today, not at work.
Most of the pools we work on you wouldn't want to jump into.
Oh, why is that?
We often get called out for, they're green or swampish and
Okay.
you go for a swim with the frogs and not pleasant until we're finished.
Oh, perfect. Well, that's actually perfect because that's why you're here today, because we wanted to get you in to talk about if I'm looking to buy a house and it has a pool, either as a homeowner or as an investor, what should I look out for? Let's dive straight into it. So I'm about to go to a home open, beautiful house. It has a pool. Didn't know it was going to have a pool but I fell in love with this house. So what should I look for as I'm walking around that property with probably 100 other people?
The big thing to remember is that a pool is a complex system. There's a lot of different systems that all have to work together. Otherwise, if one thing isn't working correctly, the whole system will fail.
Okay.
So the key point if you're looking to buy a home is make sure that the contract contains the magic words subject to pool inspection.
Yes.
Everyone gets a pest inspection, everyone gets a building inspection.
Yes.
But very few people insist on that.
Yes. So as a buyer's agent, I would say putting subject to and conditional upon a couple of things, probably a pool inspection and then also perhaps the pool equipment being included in the sale of the property.
Yeah.
But if it's really, really busy and the market is really busy at the moment, that could limit or perhaps mean that the owners won't accept my offer. So if that is the case, what else can I do? And if I could just walk around and go, okay, how do I test that it's a good pool or it's bad? Is there a few things that you would look for?
Yeah.
Like if that's probably maybe not going to be an option. The pool equipment might be an option. Let's say that's not an option.
Yeah. First of all, if an agent or vendor says that they don't want a pool inspection, that's a big red flag.
Yes,
that's
true.
a huge red flag. The number of times I've been out to pools or contacted an agent, I've said, no, that's not on the contract. I've had to tell the potential buyer. It's gone through. They've called me out after settlement,
Yes.
and that's when I find the problems.
Yes.
So the smart home seller will get someone like me in first before
Yes.
it goes on the market,
Yes.
solve any problems or remove faulty equipment if that can be done.
Yes.
It doesn't have to work if it isn't there. But then the wise buyer will always have it inspected.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do absolutely agree with putting that clause there. But as I said, if there was, say, 12 offers on a property, because it's beautiful, and yours is the only one that has that condition, even if it's sitting at the top, it might mean that, that takes you out of the race. So that's why we're obviously we want to press for that. But you did bring up a great point to call the agent and say, have you done a pool inspection on this property in the last 5-6 months? So that would be a red flag if they hadn't done that in the last 6 months, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although a lot of pools aren't inspected.
No, yes.
A lot of people think that they can just look after their own pool.
Yeah.
And yeah, sure they can until something goes wrong or until something's about to go wrong.
Yes.
But let's say you're at the home open, you see the pool. You want to look for any signs of physical damage to the pool shell, any signs of cracking or warping along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
In the equipment area, listen out for any unusual sounds.
Our creepy crawly makes a lot of weird sounds. Oh, okay, like that, yeah.
But no, we're talking about more, say, the pump.
Yeah,
if it's
okay.
screaming or buzzing, that's not a normal noise.
Okay.
So that indicates there's a problem.
Okay.
Any sign of any water leaking from anywhere.
Yes.
Check that the pool lights work.
Yes.
When I do an inspection, I go through all of these things. My average report is probably 14, 15 pages long.
Yeah.
I go right down to very, very in-depth details.
Yes.
But I can be out there for an hour or more checking everything.
That's
awesome. So, yeah, having a cursory glance while you're at the home open, you might be able to pick up some of the obvious stuff,
Yeah.
but a lot more can go wrong than you might pick at first.
Yes. Okay. So I definitely would say, can we bring you through while we're doing an inspection? Like just to have a look, like at the inspection stage before we put an offer in on a property, or is that not a thing?
Yes, we can. Might roll up the sales agent a bit, but
Yes.
yeah, I
Or
can
just
come along
plain
as part of the
clothes,
family. Yeah.
plain clothes,
Undercover.
undercover,
Yeah.
undercover pool inspector. You could be dad helping me, or brother,
Don't look
or
that old.
uncle. No,
the
brother,
grey and the beard.
uncle. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so no, that's something I'm more than happy to do.
Excellent, excellent. So that is good. Okay, so there's a few things. If it makes a loud noise, checking the lights, which they should have on anyway, really, and the agent should have put the pump on and those kinds of things. You could ask for them to be turned on while you're at the inspection. Walk around, make sure there's no obvious leaks or dents or anything like that.
Yep.
But the key is to put it in your offer. Just say subject to and conditional upon the pool equipment being included and also a pool inspection being done on the pool.
The pool equipment's a funny thing. If it's installed, like your pump, filter, chlorinator, heater, or anything like that, then it's considered a fixing. It's part of it.
Okay.
It's the accessories, your robotic cleaner, your cleaning accessories, like your vacuum hose head and handle, things like that. That's where it's a bit of a grey area.
Okay, so you could put equipment and accessories and
Yes.
be specific in your offer?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's really good information.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, let's get into some fun stuff now.
Okay, go on.
Tell me the worst thing or the funniest story you've ever had to do with a pool.
What rating is this podcast?
It is like R-rated. You could go as far as you like. I want to know.
Okay. We'll keep it on the inspection side of things.
Okay, now I want to know the other story you're thinking about, though.
Off camera. I had one vendor. The real estate agent called me out for an inspection before the property was listed.
Yeah.
And I found out that both the heater and the saltwater chlorinator, which produces chlorine from salt in the water, they were both faulty.
Yeah.
I said to him, look, we can get in a gas plumber, disconnect the gas line to the heater. I'll remove the heater and chlorinator. If it isn't there, it doesn't have to work. I say that a lot. And he said, no, that's not a problem. We'll leave it. And I said, look, you're looking at just a few $100s to get that out of there. Nope, not interested. Sent him his report. He paid his bill. Contract closed. A few weeks later, the buyer called me in to do an inspection and went out there. And, of course, I knew this was faulty. I rechecked it to make sure, just in case it had been fixed or something, and sent in my report. A few days later, I got the most abusive phone call ever from the vendor. How dare I point this out and so forth. But that's why I was there, to find any problems.
Yeah, wow.
He could have dodged it for a few hundred, ended up costing him around $10,000.
Wait, the seller.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Because the contract was subject to pool inspection.
Pool inspection. Okay.
Yeah. So, he didn't follow professional advice and got stung from it. So,
that's
what
a
do you
good
do?
story to tell our listeners, because that's the type of thing you should be doing, like double checking it, putting it in good working order before you sell, and then obviously having that clause on there subject to pool inspection for you as a buyer means that you're protected by $10,000. So they got a full new system.
well, new heater or new chlorinator,
Yeah, wow. Instead of a $200 fix, which is what it could have been beforehand.
basically. Yeah.
Wow, that's good.
So that happens all the time.
Yeah.
One day I'm going to write a book of the funny stuff that happens in there.
Yes. Come on, give me one more.
Okay. You want to hear the other one?
Yes, I do. I want
All
to hear
right.
the R-rated one.
I got a phone call from a gentleman, 7:30 on a Sunday morning, and he said, look, I'm up in the mines, so I can't help. I can't do anything, but my wife's having a party this afternoon, and she just can't get the pump running. We really need help. And I said, well, look, I'm off. I've got plans for the day. There will be a surcharge, an emergency call-out fee. And he said, discuss what it was. And he said, no, I'm not paying it. I said, okay, well, good luck. About half an hour later, he rang me and he said, okay, I'll pay it. We'll have cash when you get there. So, not my first rodeo. I said, look, my truck won't start until that money's in my account.
Yes.
Did it, got the money, went there. and rang the doorbell. Door opened. Young woman there, very, very attractive, not wearing a great deal. And I said, "Oh, good morning," and introduced myself. And she went, "Shh, keep it down, please." And I thought, okay. Noticed then she had quite bloodshot eyes. I thought somebody had a big night. Went through the house into the towards the backyard. Heard a man's voice from the front bedroom saying, "Oh, who's that, honey?" Her husband had rung me from the mines earlier that morning.
Oh, yes. Oh.
Okay, it gets better. Walked through into the back patio, and there was an outdoor table absolutely covered in empty alcohol containers.
Yes.
So I looked at her and I said, "That's why you want the noise kept down." And she sheepishly nodded. Went over to the equipment, turned it on for about 5 seconds, turned it off, took off the pump lid, straightened the basket, put it back on, turned it on again, bang, running. I said, "There you go, fixed." And she was ropeable.
Yeah.
She said, "You charged us hundreds of dollars for that, for 10 seconds of work?" I said, "No, I charged you this much for ruining my Sunday with my family and this much for having the experience to know where to look first." And then she said, and this was the clincher, she said, "I'm going to tell my husband about this." And I said, "Oh, is that the guy who rang me from the mines this morning or the guy in the front bedroom?" And she went white as a ghost and said, "Do you need any more money?" I said, "No, I need to get out of here." And I left. And yeah, that was an interesting day.
You almost need protection sometimes. Oh my goodness.
Look, there are
naughty.
Sometimes you walk up to a house or walk in, meet someone for the first time, and you think, "Hang on, big red flag."
Yes. It's scary going to people's houses, right? Like my husband used to sell solar.
Yep.
And I always find it fascinating that he'd go into like hundreds of different houses like a year and see all the way people live in different ways, and he had some stories too.
I guarantee it. The biggest thing is dogs.
Oh, yes,
Some
actually
dogs get
said
aggressive.
yes.
I've been bitten twice by dogs on the job, just little nips.
Yeah.
The worst injury I've ever got from an animal at work was actually a parrot bit me once.
Oh,
And
what?
a parrot, a pet parrot.
Wow.
It didn't like me in the yard.
Did it
ran
talk
up
as
and-
well?
No, it
Got to
squawked,
bite you.
but I tell you what, after it bit me, I talked at the thing. I'll give you the
Yes,
tip.
That's right.
But we had one customer once who I just said, "Look, we're not coming back ever."
yes,
He had the biggest
dangerous.
Rottweiler I'd ever seen.
yes, that's
But
scary.
this was a mean dog. Most
Yeah.
Rottweilers are pretty chill. But this one was angry. And it tried to attack me twice and one of my technicians once. And I said, "No more."
Yeah, you got to protect your staff too in those situations
That's
as well. That comes
paramount.
primary, yes.
Yeah.
Now, the other part of this that we should talk about is if I want to put in a pool to a property, what should I look for in the backyard? Or how much space? Or is there anything that would mean that I wouldn't be able to put a pool in? Or is there something like that
Yeah.
that I should think about when I'm looking at a property to put in a pool?
Yeah, 100%. The biggest factor is space available.
Yeah.
As you know, block sizes have shrunk immensely over the years. I remember when a quarter-acre block was the norm.
Yeah.
These days, the average block of land in Perth is, somewhere around 400 square metres.
In the newer areas, yes.
And then you go to Ellenbrook and they've got 80 square metre blocks.
Yeah, wow.
How are you going to fit a pool in there?
Yes, that's probably not going to happen on that property, right?
That's exactly right. So look at the space available, bearing in mind that pools typically need some space around them.
How much should you leave around a pool?
As a general rule of thumb, from the pool to the house or pool to a boundary, leave the same distance as the depth of the pool.
Oh,
Now, pool
there you go.
builders
I
have-
didn't know that.
Yeah, so if it's 6 feet deep, you want to have 6 feet of space.
Okay.
Now, the way pools are designed these days,
In the deep end or the shallow end? Do you go off the shallow end or the deep end, or does
whatever
it?
the depth is at that part of the pool.
Oh, is how far
Is how
out
far
it
away.
should go.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you need less room at the shallow end and more room at the deeper end.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So pool builders do have tricks. Fiberglass pool builders often have a seat going along one side of the pool.
Okay.
That helps them get closer.
Yeah. Is that like a plunge pool as well, and like a boundary wall or something? I've seen some of those recently.
Yep, the wall of the pool is actually built as a retaining wall if it's on the boundary.
Oh, yeah. My
Or
friends
built
have
as a-
one like that.
Yeah,
Yep.
or it's built as a structural footing if underneath the house.
Okay. That's clever
But-
because you can do it in a smaller space.
Yeah, but you've still got to make sure it's serviceable.
Yeah.
I've got pools,
Meaning,
I've got pools out there that simply cannot be cleaned properly
yeah.
because you can't get to every part of the pool to clean it.
Okay, yeah. So you want to leave enough room that you can sort of get a creepy crawly in and also a scoop.
Some manual cleaning equipment, manual
Yeah.
vacuum, something like that.
Okay, yeah.
Another thing to look at is dial before you dig, because you don't want to get all your hopes up about a pool and find there's a main sewer line running through your backyard.
Down
That
before you
prohibits it.
dig, yes. Is that would that be on the title? I'm just thinking it should be there on the plans, right? If there's a main line underneath, or you can call, is what you're saying. You can call the water corp and just check.
No, Google dial before you dig.
Oh,
Enter your details. It's quite simple to use.
Yeah.
Pull up their website, enter your details. It'll then get back to you with all the service providers in the area. So Water Corp,
fantastic.
Telstra, NBN, Synergy, Atco Gas, anything else that might be underground.
Yeah, fantastic.
I've had people, when I used to build pools, I had people really want to go ahead with a pool, but we just couldn't because there were exactly that, main sewer, major power lines running through a backyard,
Yeah.
proximity to a mains gas line.
It's probably another great thing to check before, you're buying a property too, before you dig.
Yeah.
Like just to see if you're planning to put a pool in the backyard or
100%.
that type of thing to make sure that it's fit for your purpose.
Yeah. There's nothing more disappointing than having your hopes up for a nice pool in the yard and then realising, oh, okay, I need to go up to Bunnings and buy an inflatable one or something.
Yeah.
It's just not the same.
Yes. Okay, let's go to a few of the other key ones.
Yep.
What's the real cost of pool maintenance?
How long's a piece of string?
Okay, yeah, it depends on the pool.
How big's the pool? How much is it used?
Yes.
How simple or complex is the equipment
Roughly,
system?
what should be in my budget on a monthly, like for an average size pool?
Average pool, average use, assuming there's not too much rubbish blowing into it from gardens and stuff, work on about $150 a month.
Okay.
But bear in mind the equipment isn't going to last forever.
Yes. My
So
mum just had to
after-
replace all of her equipment. I think it was 5 years.
Yeah, 5 to 10 years,
Yeah.
sometimes a bit less, sometimes a lot more. And that can go up into the hundreds or thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So just
And
be
there's better
aware.
brands, obviously. Who just told me, if you buy better, you buy once. If you buy bad, you buy twice.
Yeah.
So, like, to spend the money in the beginning is good for a thing like, things like a pool, because that equipment, the better quality that it is, the longer it's going to last.
Yeah, same as a car, same as
Yes.
buying anything. So that's about the rough costs of it. My big advice, though, is when buying a pool, keep it simple. Don't
Okay.
overcomplicate. Most of the problems I see out there is when equipment gets too fancy.
That brings me to another one, is probably what are some latest trends and innovations you're seeing in pools now that people could sort of, look at or research. So if I was going to put in a pool, got a decent, 711 square metre block, seems about the average for an older, sort of more established area, and I want to put a pool in.
Yeah. In terms of equipment, the biggest trend is energy efficiency, followed by water efficiency.
Yeah.
So energy efficiency, did you know a single-speed traditional pool pump often uses more power than any other appliance in your home?
No, I did not know that.
Yep.
Wow.
That can easily be $800 to $1,000 a year just in the power bill.
$800 to $1,000 a year. So,
Yep.
but you can hook it up to your solar, can't you?
You
So that's
can.
what we're talking about with.
Yeah.
Yes.
But also pump technology. These days we get variable speed pumps, and they run on normally 3 or 4 different speeds that you can adjust, and they reduce the power consumption by up to about 80%.
Wow.
So they cost a lot more to buy, but within 1 to 2 years it's normally paid for itself.
Yeah, that's right.
So variable speed pumps are fantastic, if
Okay.
it's a good one.
Yeah. What ones are you not allowed to recommend? Can you recommend? What's an example of a good pump that you've seen at the moment?
The two that come to mind that I really recommend, one is made by a company called Reltec.
Rotec, yeah.
They do a very, very solid variable speed pump. Another brand is DAB, spelt D-A-B. Now, they're handmade or hand-assembled in Italy and brought over. They are incredibly quiet, to the point we could have one running in this room right now and you probably wouldn't hear it. And this isn't a big room.
Wow, that's incredible.
Over the sound of the air conditioner fan, you probably wouldn't hear it when it's on its low speed.
Yeah.
But also pick your equipment as part of the greater system.
Yeah.
Make sure it's going to push water around the pool properly.
Yeah. Actually, on our phone call, you did mention that was a big. What did you say to me? You said you'd be surprised how many pools don't efficiently move the water around the pool, and that's a big issue because you'll have dead spots in the water flow of the pool.
Yeah.
So how would I plan that into my planning? Like, should I speak to
Me.
a pool? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Pool builders often don't have the technical background.
Yeah.
I've seen so many pools, particularly the custom designed pools in multi-million dollar houses, where the architects designed it for a wonderful look, but the practical side of things isn't there. So the way I explain it to people is the architect takes care of the aesthetic, the engineer takes care of the structure, and I get the damn thing to work. So, and the earlier I'm involved, the better.
Yeah, so you should be involved in the process from the beginning.
Ideally.
Yeah, and then you can make sure there's no dead spots and it's easier to clean and the maintenance and
There's the right
all those
equipment
kinds of
and
things.
hydraulics and all sorts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, that's really good to know. And yeah, we will include your details on the podcast as well. And people
thank
can
you.
also go to your podcast for more information.
Yeah,
You want to
it's
give it a plug?
Pretty
But-
heavy on the jargon.
Yes, okay, it's really just for pool
It's
people, isn't it?
aimed at pool professionals. So
Yeah.
unless you want to go into a session about what are we recording this week, it's going to be on cryptosporidiosis.
What? What is that?
Hope nobody's eating while they're
Yeah,
listening
no,
to
okay,
this.
no, okay, maybe we'll leave it. No,
Okay,
go.
it's a microbe that can cause massive.
Oh, that's like,
massive
I'm
illness.
pretty sure that they have that at Beatty Park or at the pool sometimes because a couple of kids have gotten really sick when someone has pooped in the water
Yep.
and they haven't drained all the water out properly. So I
You don't
can't
drain
say
it.
that.
It's a
Oh,
very
yeah, they have
precise
to treat
technical
it.
chemical procedure.
Okay, yeah, but they do close the pool for a while, but still I think
They're
a few
meant to.
kids have that,
Yeah.
or they haven't, and then a lot of kids have gotten sick, which is pretty nasty.
I was reading just yesterday, there's been a 300% increase in crypto cases in WA public pools in the last year.
Wow, I would actually attest to that from just the kids I know being sick because, and I don't think they close the pool after an incident, or it might be swim nappies or whatever it is that they don't know when someone's done something in the water. So then it's some particles have gone into the water, so they're not sure. So I guess it would also be the pools wouldn't know how often to treat it for this particular virus.
Yeah.
And it would go untreated for a while until people get sick. I don't know the maintenance schedule of a big pool like Beatty Park or Terry Tyzack or...
Yeah, it's a Group 1 commercial aquatic facility. It's meant to have the water chemistry tested 4 times a day at least.
Wow.
Once every 4 hours. But they don't test for microbes.
Yeah.
The council will normally come in and do that, or the health department will come in and do that once every few months typically.
Okay. Yep.
So I will not swim in a public pool.
Okay, yep.
Little tip.
Don't scare me because I have to do swimming lessons every Saturday. It's better that they, learn
Let's
to
move on to
swim.
the next topic now.
Yeah, okay, yeah, let's move. Don't tell me any more
Okay.
about that. Okay, we've done fun facts about pools and all that. Actually, the last thing I think I wanted to touch on was if I'm an investor, I shouldn't be turned off by a property that has a pool, should I? What would be the things, I guess I'll chime in from a buyer's agent after you've said what are the things that you should consider as an investor when buying a property with a pool?
Pick your property manager very, very carefully.
Yes, I agree with
Because I do a lot with property managers.
Yeah.
Last year I actually culled a few property managers off the books
that. Oh, wow.
because the quality of their tenants was so poor,
Yeah,
and frankly the owners, the landlords, didn't want to spend money making things right.
yeah.
So we'd go out there for a monthly service, and each time the pool would be, the pool would go green, and there'd be equipment failure and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
There's always some maintenance that the tenant needs to do between our services.
Yeah, so yeah.
If I was buying an investment property in one of the more
Affluent suburbs, yeah.
one of the more affluent, then a pool wouldn't be a problem for me.
Yeah,
Most people who rent those properties tend to look after things. That's how they've got where they are in
Yeah.
life to afford that. If you've got a lower socioeconomic area and the house is a real tip, those tenants may well be struggling to meet their rent.
yeah.
Are they going to pay for proper pool maintenance?
Yeah,
So
in
that's
those
a big
areas, I
thing.
probably wouldn't recommend it either. But also, as a buyer's agent with that hat on, I would say that a couple of things you can do in those other areas is increase the rent to include a pool inspection
Yep.
every few months to keep the pool maintained and make sure you catch any big problems early,
Yeah.
if you agree. But the chemicals would always be the responsibility of the tenant. So you want to make sure that that's something that they can cover and, that they're happy to do so.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's generally how it works. There are exceptions. I've got some tenants in really shocking houses, but they really like looking after their things.
Yeah.
I've also got, there's one tenant we have at the moment, multi-million-dollar house, and they don't want to lift a single finger between monthly servicing. And they always try to blame us and do this. Well, there's only so much we can do when we're given a work order to visit once a month.
Yeah.
So,
Tell them to add one in between if they don't want to do anything, you know.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. Let's go to the end, shall we? And just give me the best pool. I think we've capped it off, haven't we? We've done everything. We've done how to buy a house with a pool, what I should look for if I'm buying an investment property with a pool, fun facts, fun stories about pools.
Tales from the field.
Yeah, tales from the field. I like tales from the field. Does it add value? And I think the last one I really want to know is best pool you've ever seen in Perth. Where does it live? And what does it look like? Tell me. Maybe I can include a photo.
I've got to be careful how I put this because there's a lot of confidentiality around this one.
Yes. You could just say the suburb, right? And just describe the pool. Yeah, Applecross. Okay, has the best pool you've ever seen.
When I first got there to quote on servicing, the house is enormous. And I said to the owner, I said, is this a commercial property? And she said, no, this is residential. And I walked out to the backyard and saw this amazing pool. And I said, you sure this isn't a resort hotel or something? I was shocked. This pool cost about $500,000 to build.
Oh, my goodness.
The tiles on it, and it's an infinity edge pool. So that's one where the water flows over a wall down into a catchment trough.
Yeah.
And this one was really well done. The property's big enough for it. And the tiles were about $100,000 alone.
Wow. What are the tiles?
Handmade glass mosaics from Spain.
Wow. What colour?
Beautiful mid to dark blue, but they shimmer.
Yeah. Wow.
That is the most stunning pool I've seen in Perth.
Okay, there you go. We'll end it with that. Thank you so much, Peter, for coming in and spending this morning with me.
My pleasure,
and
thank you.
And talking all about pools.
Yeah.
Let's go find a pool now. It's 41 degrees out there.
Oh, I think I've got to go find one with algae in it.
Yeah, I want to go to Applecross.
Yeah.